So we discussed about the meaning of Oracle Fusion Cloud Financials applications. Hope everybody is clear about it. Still any questions from anyone on the same, please. And in last session, we discussed about instances also. Okay, when you work for any client, by default, you can find two instances. One we use for testing purpose, the other instance we can use for production. Along with that, if your client is going to be past customer, they may get one additional instance for development purpose to do the customizations, or else they may use test instance as a development instance also. Apart from that, we can see Vision instance, where you can find the sample data with the company called as Vision. So these are the points we discussed. Any questions from anyone, please? No questions. In today's session, let's talk about users. Okay. If you want to connect to the instance, the user requires what privileges, what permissions. So you want to work as a consultant to do the implementation. Same way, somebody wants to work for tables application. Some other user wants to work for receivables. Okay, you want to work as a consultant. Okay, say you want to work as a consultant, and Mr. A wants to work for payables, and Mr. B belongs to receivables department. To work as a consultant, to work for payables and receivables, these users should get access to certain roles. Okay, we call as roles. If Mr. A is responsible to create the invoices and payments within the payables department, or say payables application, we have to assign the payables roles to this user. Mr. B is responsible for receivables, sales invoice creation and receipt creation. For receivables, in receivables to create the sales invoice and receipts, we have separate roles. If you want to work as a consultant, we require separate roles. That means whatever you want to do in the instance environment, as per your responsibilities, what job you have to perform, accordingly we have to assign the roles. Okay, we have a concept called as roles. What you want to do within the instance, accordingly roles can be provided so that you will get access to the respective area or environment. So if you want to work as a consultant, okay, if you want to work as a consultant, what roles we have to assign? To work on payables, receivables, and other application, what roles we have to assign to the users, that we'll discuss. Before that, when we start with that instance, we have to work as a consultant. So to work as a consultant, what roles are required in the system environment, we'll see. To work as a consultant, the system environment, we need two basic roles. One is application implementation consultant role. Okay, we need one role called as application implementation consultant role. Okay, roles. We call as, okay, we have to assign application implementation consultant role to user. Along with that, we have to allow the user to have access to IT security manager. Okay, these two roles. These two roles we have to assign to user. These two roles we have to assign to user so that the user can work as a consultant. If you give the access to application implementation consultant role to the user, what the user can do? The user can do the setups. Okay. If you want to work on payables first we have to set up. We have to get ready with the payables, then only you can create the invoices and do payments within the payables. As we discussed here, you want to work on payables application, you have to complete the setups so that you can create purchase invoice and payments. If you want to work on receivables application, you have to set up receivables. How to set up payables, how to set up receivables, we'll understand in our classes. But you have to complete the setups, then only you can record these transactions. If you want to do any application related setups, we require application implementation consultant role. The application implementation consultant role will allow the consultants to do the application related setups. And if you want to create the users, in the instance, we need access to IT security manager. Okay, we need IT security manager. So when we talk about the implementation, say there are 10 employees who are working for payables department, they want to create invoice and they want to create the payments. If you want to allow them to have access to the instance, we have to create for 10 employees, 10 users. The users you can create from the IT security manager role. If IT security manager role is assigned to implementation consultant user, then the consultant will be able to create the users. So we require IT security manager role to create the users. Not only users, the role related activities also we can do. We'll discuss those. Okay. For now, you take the simple point. So when you create user in the instance, when you are working for any implementation, we'll get access to fresh instance. Okay. Could be any instance, will get access to fresh instance. Okay. Fresh instance means without any sample data. When you get access to fresh instance, we need access for application implementation consultant, IT security manager roles being a user. When we are working for any implementation, Oracle will create one user that they'll pass to the client. From client will get that user and you can connect to the instance and you can work on that instance. But if you want to create your own user, so these are the points you have to understand. Okay, these two roles are mandatory. If you have access to these two roles, you'll be able to create the users, new users, and you can complete the setups for any application setups. If you want to implement any application, it could be finance applications or SCM product family or HCM, PPM, take any product family or within those product families, take any application. If you want to do the setups in the instance environment, we need application implementation consultant role. And along with that, we require IT security manager role so that you will be able to perform the relevant activities with these setups, with these users, and you can manage the other roles also. We'll discuss all those. Okay. Any questions here, please?
So in R12, is it comparable with the sysadmin, the second one, IT security manager?
Yeah, not 100%. Partially, it is equal to system administrator.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions? No questions. So now we'll go and see how to create the user, how to assign these roles. Okay. First, we have to create the user. 2 steps. Create user. Second step is assign roles to user. If you are going to work as a consultant, you are going to work as a consultant for any implementation project, these two roles are enough. So based on the roles, we'll create something, and additionally what else we have to assign and all we'll discuss going forward. Right? Just give me a second. We'll connect to the instance. Yeah. Okay, this is one of the cloud instance. So we'll log into this instance with some existing user and we'll create our own user. So before that, somebody is asked, there was some question, I guess.
Yes,
repeat your question.
Is roles equivalent to EBS responsibilities?
Yeah, yes. If you compare with EBS, these roles are similar to responsibilities. Similar to responsibilities in EBS. Fine. Now I will log into this instance with one of the existing user, and with the help of that user, we'll see how to create our own user. Okay, just log into this instance with this user. And you will get access to instance with some default user. With that, you can log in and you can follow the same process to create your own user. So after logging to the instance, to create your own user, you can click on this bar icon. This is the navigator. Okay, what we have here, this all will understand. Okay, slowly we'll understand all those. Now our target is user creation. So click on this bars icon. Here you can find the section called as tools. You can find the tools within the navigator. Under tools, select the task called as security console. Select the task called as security console. Just click on security console. Just click on security console. And here you can create the user. To create the new user, select users and click on add user account. And here you can create the user and you can assign the roles to the user. Okay, I'll repeat this navigation. So once you connect to the instance with your own user, you can go to navigator. Within the navigator, you can find the tools. Under tools, click on security console task. We call it as a task. Whatever you perform here, we call as a task. Now select users. And to create the new user, click on add user account. Here you can provide the username. Okay. So you can provide the username. Say what user we can give, say. So MRF, I'm giving the username as MRF, and you may provide mail ID. So you can provide any dummy mail ID. And here you can provide the password. The same mail ID it is copying as username, and you can override it. And you can set the password. When you set the password to this user, you can look at the password policy. Okay, password policy is very simple. At least 8 characters, 1 number. And the same password you have to confirm here. I'm setting some password to this user. Now you can click on save and close. If you want to add the roles, by clicking on add roles, you can add the roles to this user. You can assign. We'll see that later. Okay, we given the name and email ID and the username, and we provided password. You can click on save and close. Now system will create the user called as MRF. Now you can find the same user. Okay, display name is MRF, username is this, and email ID, and the status. The user status is active. The user account is not locked. Locked is not locked. If you want to reset the password to this user, you can click on actions and click on reset password. Okay, anytime you can change the password to this user. Okay, this is how you can enter new password and do. You can confirm the new password, say reset password. And if you want to, okay, log this account, you can lock it. If you click on lock account, with this user, okay, you cannot connect to the instance. So locked, yes. Since user account is locked, this user you cannot use to log into this instance. It doesn't work. Okay. So just what you can do is, if you want to unlock this account, click on the username and click on edit. Now uncheck this lock checkbox and say save and close. This is how you can unlock the account. And if you want to delete this user, yes, that is also possible. Ideally, they should not give the option to delete, but that option is available. You can delete this user account also. Okay. You can compare and you can copy this user and all this we can understand later. Okay. So how to create the user and how to reset the password if you want to reset, and if somebody is locked your account, how to unlock. These are the points you have to understand. Now we will see how to assign the roles to this user. Okay, we have to assign these two roles: application implementation consultant and IT security manager. If you assign these two roles, with the first role you can do the setups, with the second role you can create other users and all. So go to instance, and to assign the roles to this user, click on the username or display name. Okay, just click on username, and here you can see no roles are assigned to this user. Okay, to this user no roles are assigned. Click on edit. To assign the roles to this user, click on add role tab. What roles we want to assign? Application implementation consultant role. Okay, application, type application implementation. If you look at here, you can find the roles like, if you type application implementation, you can see application implementation administrator, application implementation consultant, application implementation manager. We have three roles. Which role we have to assign? Application implementation consultant role we have to assign to this user. The application implementation consultant role will have more privileges compared to administrator and manager. So always assign application implementation consultant role to the user. If you are going to work as a consultant, consultant role will have a privileges more than administrator and manager roles. So select application implementation consultant role and click on add role membership. Add role membership means assign this role to user. Click on add role membership. We assigned one role. Okay, the background you can see that application implementation is showing here. Now we have to assign one more role. That role is IT security manager. Okay, search for IT security manager role. So this is a role we have to assign. Select this role and click on add role membership. Okay, you can select this role. By default, only one role it is selected. Otherwise, you can click on this role and say add role membership to assign this role to our user. Okay, assigned. Now click on done. Now to MRF user, we assign two roles: application implementation consultant and IT security manager. These two roles we assign. Now you can say save and close. Click on done.
We don't see the end dates or something for the roles or user.
Roles, you cannot give end date. You can delete the roles. If you want to delete, you can delete it anytime. Okay. And user, it will reset the password when that user will get expired, the password get expired. Yeah, please.
So what is the password expiration date it picked? Maybe
You can set here. We have administration options.
Oh, okay.
We'll discuss those. Yeah. For now, not required. Those we will deal with the roles concept, and there we'll talk about this other analytics, this and that. Okay. So if you just click on username, okay. Now what is showing password expiration date is this. That means they set, seems to in this instance, they set as a 6 months. Okay, 6 months, sorry, 3 months. 3 or 4 months, they given a certain period. Accordingly, it is defaulting for our user. This is going to be password expiry date for this user. We can set those. We'll go through all those. Now in this stage, those are all not required. Okay, we are trying to understand how to create user and what are the basic roles we have to assign to our user. Okay, these are the 2 basic roles we have to assign. Done. Now, so if you assign the role called as application implementation consultant, which user we created here? We created a user called as MRF. Okay, these 2 roles we assign. If you assign the role called as application implementation consultant, this user can perform the setups. When we assign this application implementation consultant role to this user can get access to what? This user can get access to the page called as FSM. Okay, FSM. Okay, when we assign this application implementation consultant role to the user, this user can get access to FSM. Because of this application implementation consultant, this user can get access to FSM. What does it mean by FSM? FSM stands for Functional Setup Manager. FSM stands for Functional Setup Manager. From FSM only, you can do setups. If you want to implement payables, you can do the setups from this FSM. If you want to do the receivable setups, you can do the setups from FSM only. Okay. If you assign application implementation consultant role to user will get access to FSM. With the help of FSM, we can perform the setups. If you assign IT security manager role to user, the user will get access to security console. Okay. If you assign IT security manager role to this MRF user can get access to security console. With the help of security console, this MRF user can create other users. To other users, this MRF user will be able to assign the roles. However, we assign the roles just now from other user. Now this user also can create the new users. To new users, whatever the roles are required can be assigned. So this is what we have to understand from these 2 roles. Okay. For every consultant need access to these 2 roles initially. Later, after completing certain setups, what are the additional roles are required, we'll discuss. Any questions on this point, please? Okay, user creation and roles assignment in the fresh instance. If you get access to fresh instance, okay, you can create your own user by using the existing user, and you have to assign these 2 roles as a basic roles. Those are application implementation consultant and IT security manager. If you assign application implementation consultant role to user, the user will get access to FSM. FSM stands for Functional Setup Manager. By using the Functional Setup Manager, we can perform the setups. If you assign IT security manager role to user, the user will get access to security console. With the help of security console, the user will be able to create the new users, and the same user can assign the roles to the other users. So this is what possible. Along with that, we can do some other activities also. We'll see that very soon. As of now, these are the points you have to understand. Any questions here, please? Any questions, please?
Hi, Lakshman.
Yeah.
Like you told, application implementation consultant will have all privileges. So
Yes.
in that case, that role will not be able to create users.
No. So within the application implementation consultant role, you will have a privileges to do any application related setup.
Okay.
Within that, you cannot find the privileges which are related to user creations and all.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
So one question, in that first application implementation consultant role, he has a setup manager, right?
Yeah.
So even though you subscribe to all the applications, so the user can still go and modify the setups, right?
I didn't get your question.
Suppose the client does not subscribe to inventory or BOM or
Mhm.
those kind of things.
Okay.
So the setups will still be accessible to the user, right?
Yes, yes, yes. But you can do the setups, but say when you don't take the subscription for, say, you didn't take subscription for SCM, but system will allow you to do the setups. But you should not use SCM applications to record the transaction. These instances are managed by Oracle. Okay. These instances are managed by Oracle. They can conduct the audit. If they find you are using the other applications where you don't have subscription, there will be big penalties. Even if it is your on-premise instance, say you just license, you are using on-premise. On-premise means your own servers. Sometimes you conduct the
not
audit.
exactly. No,
Audit team.
not exact. No, they may not do it, but sometimes by mistake, some enable some profile options or something.
No, setups, no issues. You are not supposed to record the transactions. By doing the setups, you cannot achieve anything. Ultimately, the system application usage is to record your business transactions. If you do setups, no issues. Okay.
One question.
You should not record the transactions as per your business. Yeah.
Yeah, one question. On-premise means, can you explain? Yesterday I was joined a bit late. So.
On-premise means their own server. Cloud means Oracle servers.
Okay.
Better you can go through that video so that you can get complete information.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Fine. Any other questions here, please? Okay. No questions. The fresh instance, whatever the user we create, that user we call as implementation user. Okay. Implementation user. Now we created one implementation user called as MRF. We assigned these two roles, right? Now we'll go and check whether this MRF user is able to get access to FSM as well as security console or not. Okay. So we'll log into this instance as a MRF user. We connected with other user. You can sign out. You can log in as a MRF, provide password, sign in. Okay, done. Now we connected. Now we'll check this MRF user got access to FSM or not. Okay, FSM, Function Setup Manager. How we can get access to FSM? With the help of application implementation consultant role. We'll go and check. If you want to verify this user got access to FSM or not, you can click on the username. Next to the user, there is a drop-down option. You can click on that drop-down option. I'm just clicking on username. It will open one panel. So in this panel, you can find one task called as, everything we call as task, which will help us to perform something that we are calling as a task. So you have to click on the username. It will open one panel. Within the panel, you can see one task called as setup and maintenance. Okay, you can do the setups and you can maintain those setups. So we are able to see this setup and maintenance task within this panel because of application implementation consultant role. Just click on the same task, setup and maintenance task. It will take us to FSM. It will take us to FSM. Click on setup and maintenance task. It will take us to FSM. From this FSM page, you can do the setups. Say you want to do finance related setups. Here, you can select financials. Okay, so you can do the finance related setups. You want to do procurement related setups. You can select procurement here. You can do the procurement setups from here. How to do the setups? We'll start working on that very soon. For now, just for information. Okay, this user got access to application implementation consultant. If user got access to application implementation consultant, that user will be able to connect to FSM. That's what we are testing. If you click on setup and maintenance, we'll navigate to FSM page. This is the FSM page. From here, you can do any application related setups. Okay, so this user got access to FSM. Done. I will verify this user got access to security console or not. Because of IT security manager, this user should be provisioned access to security console. We'll check. To check whether this user got access to security console or not, you can click on navigator icon, the bar icons. Click on navigator icon. Under tools, you can see security console. You can see the security console here if IT security manager role is assigned to that user. Okay, if IT security manager role is assigned to that user, then only you can see security console task under tools section. If you don't assign IT security manager role, you cannot create it. You cannot find any task called as security console under tools. Now, what is the purpose of this security console? You can create the new users. Let's see how to, whether we can create users or not. Click on security console and select users. Click on add user account, right? You can create here. ABC user. Okay. The same email ID you can take as username, no issues. Say save and close. If you want to assign the roles, you can click on add role and you can assign. We are able to create the user. Okay. So we assign these two roles. The purpose of these two roles are accessing to FSM, accessing to security console. Now that we verified. Okay. So done. Now, so by using FSM, you can do the setups. If you want to do the setups, what we have to create, or else before that, we'll go and check the version of this instance. Okay, first we'll check the version of instance, then we'll go with another point called as how to do the setups and all. If you want to check this instance version, okay, as per Fusion, the version is there, but always we call with this releases. Within the versions, we'll have releases. We call with the release name only. To check what release of this instance is, click on the username, and here we have about this application. Just click on username. Here you can see one task called as about this application. Click on about this application. Here you can see this is the application version up to here only. The version is 11, the release is 13. We never call Fusion applications with the version. Always we use the release only. This is the release 13, which is the latest. Okay. So Oracle came up with the different releases. Okay. When they started with the Fusion applications, they started like 11.1.1.1, some 0, 0. This is the initial version. Within that, this you treat as a release, first release. Okay. And later they released, okay, 11.1.1.2 and 0.0. So this is how this is a release 1, release 2. Okay, here it should be 11. This is the version. Okay, always version is fixed. There's no change in the version. That is 11 only. You don't need to talk about version. You have to understand about release only. So later 11.1.1.3. Okay, slowly they simplified that as a 11 point instead of going with other subversioning and all. Simply they given like 1.4.0, 11.1.5.0. After that we have a 6, we have a 7. So mostly clients started using from 7, release 7. Very few clients started. After 7, they released 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now we are at 14. 14, they trimmed the subversioning. Simply they are giving us 11.13. Back to that, we have 11 point. Okay. We have 8, 9, 10 also. Okay. So this is how they have 11.12.0.0. Now they are giving us 11.13. So now this we call as release 13. Okay, release 13. So this is how you can find the release within instance. Okay, 11.13 means 11 is the version. You don't need to talk about version. That is fixed all the time. Okay, again tomorrow Oracle is going to come up with a new release also. Version is same, 11 only. So we always talk about releases. That's what Oracle is changing. Now the current instance, when you look at the current instance, you can see 11 means version. That leave it, forget about version. This is the release. And what is this 22? Okay, and 01. 22 is year. Okay, 2022. 01 is John. 01 is John. That means on this instance, the latest patch when they applied, that they are representing with this date. Okay, in John month. Okay, in 2022, in John month, they applied the latest patch on this. Okay, patch means to fix some issues, to add some new functionalities, or wherever it is applicable throughout all the product families, they apply the patches. And there is no date and all. Okay, this is a blank. So 22A means the same. So 22 means year, A means quarter. A means first quarter, B means second quarter, C means third, D means fourth quarter. Okay, this is how you can check the instance is belongs to which release and when latest patch is applied and all. Okay, this is how you can check. Any questions from anyone, please? This is the release 13 instance.
Yeah, Lakshman, I have a quick question over here.
Please, direct question. Anyone, direct question. You don't need to say you have a question. If you have a question, directly you can post it.
Yeah, when this R13 has been released by Oracle, that is Fusion.
Release 13, around like 2018. The 18 only they released. Prior to that, we have a 12, okay, 11 other versions. Now what they are doing is instead of changing the version, they are applying the patches. Okay, they are keeping release as 13 only. They are applying the patches. Whenever they want to do some changes, they are applying the patches. That's all. But financial point of view, even if they are applying the patches, there is no big impact. The financial solution is stabilized. For other applications, what they are developing, what are the application related issues they are fixing, for those, the patches will impact more. Financial point of view, there is no big change. Okay, even with the latest patches, what they are applying. Fine.
So this R13 we call it as fusion, right?
No, everything you call it a fusion only. Okay, R11 or within the fusion. Okay, within the fusion. So this is R11, R12. This is R7, R5, R4. These all are the releases within the fusion. Apart from fusion, before fusion we have EBS, e-business suite. In EBS we have a versions, 11i version. I stands for internet. After that, in EBS only, okay, EBS, they came up with R12. In EBS R12. Later, they came up with the fusion. In fusion, these are all we have. Within the fusion, this is R12, release 12, this is R13. Okay, this R12 is different from this R12. This is EBS R12, this is a fusion R12. Okay.
Okay, so basically when the fusion has been started by Oracle?
Many years back, long back they started, and there was some,
okay.
It was not successful. Again, they restarted working on those. Okay, years back. I can say like initially they released many years. Like the release 7 and all, the client started using from 2016 onwards. Okay. From 2016 onwards, clients started using. Prior to that, they released long back, but it was not successful. They did require changes and all. Later they released. This is fine now.
So before 16, any client was using EBS version only, right?
Yeah, EBS. Now also many clients are using EBS.
Okay.
Yeah. Prior to that, before fusion, only from Oracle, we have EBS only. EBS 11i. After that, they released EBS R12. After that, from EBS R12, they taken the solution from EBS R12, and as a part of fusion, they taken financials from R12 only, EBS.
So for what could be the next version of EBS? Does it go R13 or?
EBS,
No.
in this EBS, in the releases, they are not doing the changes. In EBS, so they are giving the sub releases only, like 12.1.3, 12.1.2, 12. This is how they are giving in EBS, 12.2, 12.5. This is how they are giving. They fixed, they constantly they are using as release 12 only. Within that, the sub-versioning they are changing. That's how we have in EBS.
Yeah, latest is R to 10, I think. Yeah.
That's what. Okay, that's what they are changing. The 12 is a constant value. Rest sub-versioning, they are making the changes to represent how latest that is. Okay, this is how you can verify the instances belongs to which release. Okay, release 30, which is the latest. Right? That's how you can check. Now, if you want to do the setups, okay, if you want to do the setups by using FSM, what we have to do is we have to create implementation project. Okay, if you want to do the setups by using FSM, we have to do the implementation project. Okay. To perform the setups, to do the setups, we have to create implementation project. We have to create the implementation project. What does it mean by implementation project? What are the setups you want to do? All the setups you can do as a part of implementation project only. To manage the setups, To do the setups and to manage the setups in the system environment, we have to create the implementation project. So where you can create the implementation project within the FSM only. How you get access to FSM with the help of this role. So within the FSM, you have to create implementation project. If you want to create implementation project, what are the product families you are going to implement? Okay, what are the product families you are going to implement? Those we have to enable. Those product families we have to enable within this instance. By selecting those product families, you can create the project. Okay, so this is what we are calling. This is all we are calling as a product families. But as per FSM, okay, as per FSM, within the FSM, the same product families we call as offerings. This is all we don't call as per Fusion FSM, as per Oracle Fusion applications, we call as product families. But within the FSM, this all product families we call as offerings. Okay, all we call as offerings. Take example financials. Financials is one of the offering. Okay, financials is one of the offering. Financials is one of the offering. Within the financials, what are the different applications we have? So within the financials, if you take example of financials, we have applications like Oracle Fusion General Ledger application, we call as GL. Just take the names. We'll understand about these all the applications one by one. Oracle Fusion Accounts Payable. Short name is AP. Okay. Oracle Fusion Accounts Receivable. Short name is AR. Oracle Fusion Cash Management Application, we call as CM. Oracle Fusion Fixed Assets, short name is FA. These are the key applications, primary applications. Along with that, we have a Fusion Tax and Fusion Expense that we are going to work on those also. I given as a part of course curriculum. Just to understand few points, take this example. Okay, financial, these are the applications we have. What we are calling as a financials as per FSM, we are calling as offering. Financials we are calling as offering. SCM we are calling as offering. These all we are calling as a different offerings. Just take the terminology, how we call, that's what we have to understand here. These all are the offerings we are calling as per FSM. So if you call these financials as offering, what about these applications? These are the different applications within the financials. As per FSM, instead of calling these as applications, we call as options. Okay, this we call as options. Okay, this accounts general ledger application, GL we call as one option. Same way, AP is one of the option, AR is one of option, CM is option, FA is the one of the option. So product families we are calling as offerings, and applications as per the product families, whatever available, those we are calling as options. When we are going to do the implementation, the very first step is we can create our own user. First we'll create our own user. After creating our own user, the second step is we have to enable these offerings and options. Okay, if you want to create implementation project, first we have to enable offerings and options. Enable offerings and options. The fresh instance. Okay, when we work for any implementation project, in the fresh instance, what are the offerings and options you are going to implement for your client? Those all offerings and options we have to enable by selecting those offerings and options, you can create implementation projects so that as per those offerings and options, you can do the implementation, you can do the setups. Okay. So as per your implementation scope, say your client is going to implement financials, SCM and HCM. Now within the fresh instance, we have to enable financials, we have to enable SCM, we have to enable HCM. Again, within the financials, which applications we are going to implement for the client. Say you are going to implement only these 3 applications. So you have to enable financials offering. Within the financial offering, you have to enable these 3 options only. The same way, HCM you have to enable, since we are going to implement HCM for the client. And within the HCM, what are the options we are going to implement? Those need to be enabled. The same way, SCM, take any offering, you have to enable offering. Within the offering, what are the applications we are going to implement? Those applications we have to enable. The applications only we are calling as a options. Okay, this is the point we have to understand. If you don't enable offerings and options, those won't be available to do the setups. When you create implementation project, so which offerings and options we require to implement, those we have to select. Okay, the offerings and options we have to select into implementation project. Which offerings and options are enabled in the instance, those only would be available to select here. First you have to enable, say financials you enable. Okay, then financials you can select into implementation project. SCM you didn't implement, enable. That you cannot select into implementation project. If you don't select financial SCM into implementation project, you cannot do SCM setups from your project. So that is the reason you have to enable offerings and options. What are the offerings and options you are enabling? Only those offerings and options you can select into your implementation project, so that from your implementation project, you can do the offerings and option related setups. This is a point we have to understand. Any questions here, please? We'll go and see.
Lakshman, why don't we enable all options and then select whichever required?
Yeah, nothing wrong. See, you are going to implement only GL, APAR from finance. You no need to enable cash management and fixed assets. If you want to enable it, but you should not implement because you didn't take any subscription from the Oracle.
Okay.
If you enable, nothing will happen, but you should not implement and use, since you don't have subscription for those applications or those offerings. So you take in the subscription for finance, SCM and procurement. If you want to enable HCM offering, enable it, no issues, but don't use it. If you use, there will be penalty from Oracle.
Okay.
So now Oracle is not going to stop us from enabling offerings and options, but you should not implement and you should not use those where you don't have subscription. That is only the point we have to understand.
So if I'm implementing financial applications, say, so in that case, all coming under financials can be enabled together?
No, all you cannot enable at a time. You enable financials so that system will allow you to enable within the financials whatever the applications are there as options.
Okay.
I want to enable GL, AP and ER. Where we have these options?
Under financials.
Financials. Now first I have to enable
offering financials.
Financials offering, so that inside of offering, what are the options we have, we can enable. Without enabling financials offering, inside what we have, we cannot touch. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
That is the reason offering we have to enable, so that what are the options are available, required, those you can enable. Done. Any other questions, please?
I think we can call these options as modules, right?
Yeah, you can call as applications, you can call as module. Module is a technical term.
Okay.
And any questions, please?
Yeah, Lakshman, we do this implementation project and enabling the options and offerings in the testing instance or a directly instance in the real time?
Any instance you can do that. Any instance. Okay. First, always we'll work on the test instance. In real implementation also, You all,
Okay.
all these in the test instance of testing everything, then the same we will do in the production instance.
Oh, yeah.
If your project duration is, for example, 8 months, almost 6 months will be working on the test instance only. Okay. So if implementation duration is say 8 months, max six months will be working on the test instance only. You have to set up, you have to test, you have to show to the client. This is how it will work. Once everything is finalized, the same as it is we will do in the production, and they'll start using.
Okay.
That I'll explain when we talk
Yeah.
about the implementation process. There you can understand. I'll explain what activities, how much time for which activity there will discuss. Now here we are trying to understand how application is available. We are trying to learn the application.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions? Fine. Now we'll go and see how to enable the offerings and options. We'll go and see how to enable the offerings and options. So in the fresh instance only, you have to enable. Okay. So the current instance, what we are using within this already enabled, but I'll show you how to enable if you want to enable this. Okay, go to setup and maintenance task. Okay, just click on user, click on setup and maintenance task. It will take us to FSM. In the FSM page, here you can see actions. You can see actions. Click on actions. And here we have a action called as go to offerings. Click on go to offerings. And here you can find all the offerings which are available in this instance. These are the different offerings. Now select our financials offering. You don't click on the financials name. Click on financials related icon what they given. Click on icon. Click on icon. Here it is displaying the description of these financials. Within the financials, what we have? Assets we have. That means fixed assets application. We have a ledger. Ledger means general ledger application. Okay. Cash cycle means cash management application. Invoice and payments means payables application. Accounts receivables means receivables only. And we have something like collections. There is a separate application called as advanced collections. Along with that, subledger accounting. This is separate functionality, not an application. And tax configuration. Yes, we are going to work on that also. Tax and all, tax, fusion, expense, etc. So within the financials offering, what we have, you can see here. Within this instance, the instance what we are using, within this instance, the financials offering is already enabled. You can see the status. Status is enabled. By default in the fresh instance, here your status you can see as a not enabled. I'll go into set to not enabled, how it would look like. So you have to click on open opt-in features. Just click on opt-in features tab. Okay, just click on opt-in features tab. In fresh instance, okay, it will be disabled mode. You can find as a disabled. Just disable this. So after enabling this, inside of what we have, those you can enable. But in this instance, because this instance we are using for testing practice purpose. So by default, is all you could see as a disabled only, the fresh instance. What you see here, disabled. Fine. Click on done. Now, so this is how you will see in the fresh instance. Okay. If you are working for any implementation project, if you select financials offering, you see the financial offering status as a not enabled. If it is not enabled, with this, you cannot create any implementation project. So you have to enable it. How to enable? Let's see. So whenever you see the status as a not enabled, click on opt-in features. Now you can enable financials When you enable financials, see here, general ledger application automatically it is coming by default. The reason is without general ledger application, you cannot use any application from financials. And you want to implement payables. Supplier invoice processing is nothing but payables, enable payables. You want to implement expense application, fusion expense application. If you want to implement, you can enable it. Okay, you can enable this. You want to implement fixed assets, enable it. Okay, it's a defaulting. Since it's already enabled and we disable it is defaulting. By default, it will be blank like this. You can enable it. So you want to implement fixed assets application. So the fixed assets you can enable. Customer invoice processing. Customer invoice processing is nothing but receivables application. Okay. Customer invoice processing is nothing but receivables. If you are going to implement the option called as receivables, enable it. Revenue management is another application. If you are going to implement, enable it. The intercompany and all these are not applications. These are the features. Okay. Along with the applications, we have certain features also they given. This budget also feature. So this is how just you can enable what you are going to implement for your client. Okay, here we can look at all these points once again to understand.
So which one is AR?
One second. That's what I said. I am going to explain again. Okay, so financials. Okay, financials. When you enable financials, automatically system will enable general ledger application. With financials, you cannot use without general ledger application. So that is the reason general ledger application is default application from financials. You no need to select. By default, system is enabling. System is selecting. So supplier invoice processing is nothing but payables application. Okay, payables application. Within the payables, so suppliers, payables means invoices, payments, all you can manage. If you are going to implement payables application, automatically you will get cash management application. By default, you no need to select. We want to implement cash management application. What purpose we use cash management? We discussed. What are the points we discussed? From that you can answer.
For bank reconciliations.
Bank accounts and bank reconciliations, bank statement reconciliations. So if you are going to make the payment from payables application, we require bank accounts. We require bank accounts means we require cash management. So that is the reason if you are going to enable payables application, here payables application means supplier invoice processing we call as payables application. If you enable supplier invoice processing, you will get cash management automatically. Okay, cash management and banking. That's how they given the name. This is nothing but cash management application. Expense is separate application. Fixed assets is separate application. You have to enable separately if you are going to implement. And customer invoice processing is nothing but receivables application. Okay, within this, to enable customer invoice processing means receivables. You will get access to receivables. Within this, you can create the transactions, sales invoices and receipts, and you will get access to cash management. The receivables in the customer invoice processing, when you are dealing with the customers, when you get the payment from customer, you have to take that amounts into your bank account. If you want to take the customer payments into your bank account, you need cash management, bank accounts. So, and collections is separate application. If you want to implement, you can enable. And when you are working on here, the items, okay, the stock related, which item you are selling to the customer and all, that access also will get by default. So the rest are like revenue management is separate application. These are the separate features. Okay, these are the separate features which you can implement. Okay, here we have a financial business intelligence analytics. Okay, here just BA analysis purpose. Okay, we will see that how we can get the data for analysis and all. So for all like general ledger, payables and other application, fixed assets, we need these application data into BI intelligence, okay, BI business intelligence area, so that we can analyze the transaction data for any reporting or other purposes. This is how you have to enable. The rest not required, those are not required, like you can. So if you are going to implement these applications for US federal financials for US government organizations and all, you can enable this. Apart from that, anything else you are going to implement, you can set that. Primarily, those are not required. This is what you have to understand. Okay. So what offerings and what options you are going to implement for your client, accordingly you have to enable the offering, and within the offering, what options you require. Where you have a scope of enabling, you have to enable. Rest what system can enable, those system will enable. If you look at these 5 financials applications, core applications, you no need to enable general ledger, you no need to enable cash management. You have an option to enable or not to enable only for payables, receivables, and fixed assets. Whenever you enable financials, you'll get cash management, general ledger application automatically. If you enable, you will get cash management. If you enable receivables, you will get cash management. Could be payables or receivables. In payables and receivables, we require bank accounts. Okay, in payables, to make the payments, we need bank accounts. In receivables, what are the payments you receive from customer that you have to move to your bank accounts only. For that, we need bank accounts. That is the reason if you are implementing payables, you will get cash management automatically, or else if you are implementing receivables also, you'll get cash management. You don't need to select separately. So this is what you have to understand about enabling offerings and options. In the fresh instance, you can see the offerings and options are not enabled. You have to enable like this. And here we have a futures and all. As of now, you don't need to touch anything. See here we have a financials. Against the financials, you can click on futures. Okay, for entire financials, what is allowed, what is not allowed, they given. By default, all will be enabled. Something is you require as per your client, you can enable. By default, you don't need to do anything. Everything you could see as enabled. Okay, apart from the standard processes and all, anything else need to be enabled so that you can enable. Initially, you don't need to do anything. Make sure that the offerings and options are enabled as per your scope of the implementation. Scope of the implementation means which applications you are going to implement for your client. Based on that, you can enable the offerings and options. Once you're done with that, you can click on done. Our system will update the financial status as a enabled. The same way, you can go to other offering called as, say, you can go to other offering called as procurement. I'm selecting procurement. So in this instance, it is showing as a already enabled. Okay, this instance we are using for practice purpose. So for practice purpose, somebody already enabled. So you can see as it's enabled. If you want to see what are the options are available within this, you can click on opt-in features. Click on opt-in features. So procurement is already enabled. Expand it. Within this, what are the options are available? What are the applications are available? It will show. So within the procurement, we have one of the application called as purchasing. Expand purchasing. So within the purchasing, again, you have other applications called as self-service procurement. This is iProcurement application. Okay, iProcurement application. And here we have a supplier invoice processing. Payables application also they given as a part of procurement. If some client is going to want to include only payables along with the procurement, yes, they can enable this. Otherwise, they can disable it. And other applications like supplier portal is one of the application within the procurement, or you can call as iSupplier also. The name is supplier portal. You can call it as iSupplier also. Sourcing application, procurement contracts. These are the different applications as a part of procurement. In procurement, purchasing is one of the application. Along with the purchasing, you have a self-service procurement and you have a supplier portal, you have a sourcing, procurement contracts. These are all applications put together we call as a procurement offering. Okay, within the procurement, what are the different options? What are the different applications we are going to implement? Accordingly, you can enable. Okay, accordingly, you can enable so that you can use. If you want to understand about these offerings, okay, here Oracle is providing certain documents also. Just you can click on financials and here you can see finance related documents expanded. So what are the features are available related to financials? You can download the document in any one of the format, PDF format or HTML, Excel. You can download and you can see. But in this stage, you no need to look into that. Once we get into the application, once you are aware of something, how to do the setups, you can look into those documents. those make some sense. Otherwise, that would be unknown information for us. Okay. And the setup task list and task. To implement financials, what are the setups you have to perform? All the setups information will be available in this document. You can download with any formats. In the 3 different formats the documents they are providing. And other documents like business objects and enterprise application, nothing you can get from this, just for some reference purpose for technical and other aspects. Okay, nothing. These are the 2 documents which you can go through, not now, later after some time. Once we start doing setups, maybe after 1 or 2 weeks, you will just understand how to do the setups, what are the features, etc., etc. Then you can just click on those and download the document. You can have a look. So that's all about the offering, how to enable the offerings. Once these offerings are enabled, you can create the implementation project. Okay, you can create the implementation project. So the first step, okay, we have to enable offerings and options which we are going to implement for our client. Once those are enabled, those would be available at the time of implementation project creation. Let's see how to create implementation project and what purpose we are going to create implementation project in the system environment. Only to perform the setups. Okay, to perform the setups. Implementation project means don't think the real implementation project. Okay, here the system point of implementation project means setup project. Setup purpose, whatever the project we are creating, that we are calling as implementation project, it should be reality setup project, but name they given as implementation project. Let's call it as implementation. When you talk about implementation, what we do, there will be many activities. In those many activities, one of the activities doing the setups in the system. Here the name they given as implementation project, but within this what we do only setups. Setup purpose, whatever we are creating in the system as a project, that we are calling as implementation project. So now we enabled offerings and options. We have seen how to enable offerings and options. Now we'll go and create the implementation project. Okay, let's see how to create the implementation project. We'll create once again. Okay, as a just introduction, you see this. So let's see how to create implementation project. So implementation project you can create from FSM only. From the same page you can create. How we navigated to this page? You have to click on user. In the panel you have a task called as setup and maintenance. If you click on that, okay, we'll navigate to this FSM page. From here only we enable offerings and options. Now to create implementation project, you can go to this task list. This you call as task list. It contains multiple tasks. It is something like notepad kind of icon. Okay, it is showing, if you place the cursor on that, it is showing that title as a tasks. That means within this we have multiple tasks. This you can call as a task list, or you can call it as a task pan. Click on this task list. It will display what are the tasks are available. Now what we want to create, we want to create implementation project to do the setups. So here we have one of the tasks called as manage implementation projects. Click on manage implementation projects. Okay, click on manage implementation projects. You see here many projects are there. Many projects. Okay, many projects
Created by individual people or?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I'll explain that. I'll come to that definitely. So there are many projects. Because this is a practice instance, people are creating these projects for their practice purpose. Reality, when we are working for any client, Oracle will allow to use one instance for one client only. One client only. For instance, you should not use for 2 different clients. Okay. By taking one instance subscription, you should not implement for, say, company called as Airtel and company called Cisco. Okay, one instance only for one client. How many projects they want to create? Those many they can create. There is no issue with the number of projects, but one instance can be used by one client. If you see within this instance, for different companies, different projects are created. These are all for practice purpose. People created who are using this instance. So reality, it doesn't work. Okay, so one client, only one instance. Same instance can be used by multiple clients, but Oracle is not going to allow. Okay, Oracle doesn't allow. So one client, they'll give the subscription. So one client only should use that instance. So when you do the implementation, how many implementation projects we have to create in the instance? What is the purpose of implementation project? To do the setups. So ideally, if you are doing the implementation for one country, you can create one implementation project. Through that one implementation project, you can do the country specific setups. If you are implementing for two countries, you can create two implementation projects. Separately, you can do the setups from the separate projects. One project may be for India, one project may be for US. Or else for two countries also, you can use single project. Project purpose is to do the setups. For India related setups and US related setups, you can do from same project. But if you create this project separately, there is one advantage. That advantage you can understand when we do the setups only. But now this is a point you have to remember. So when you create implementation project for each country, one implementation project we create as a general practice. If you want to create one project for multiple countries also, that also fine. But there is slight difference in both how we deal with the setups that you will understand very soon. So when you get access to fresh instance, here this page you can find as a blank page, like this you will find. If you come to this page, you will find like blank page. You don't find single project, no sample projects you can find in the fresh instance. What are the project you are going to create? That would be the first project in the instance. Who has to create the project? Who knows how to create the project? They can create. That may be finance consultant or SCM consultant or HCM consultant, or else your project manager knows how to create the project. Project manager can create. If your project manager is not aware of Fusion application, just is there to manage the project, so anyone can create. Okay, you don't need to think since it's a project manager has to create. No, it is not a complete project. This is just setup related project. So anyone can create the implementation project within the instance. So for one country, ideally we create one project. This is what we have to understand. Right. So any questions on this point, please? Any questions from anyone, please? Okay, let's see.
Lakshman,
Yeah.
why implementation project has to be created separately? Why don't we directly get into setups?
Yes, we can do that also. If you create implementation project, there are certain advantages. That is the reason we have to create. Without creating implementation project also, you can do the setups from FSM. Okay, possible. If you create implementation project, there are certain advantages. What those advantages and all we will see. And reality, when you do the implementation, always will create implementation project as a best practice. We'll come to all those. You will find the difference. I'll show you both how to do the setups from the implementation project. Without implementation project, how to do the setups. I'll show you so that you can understand the difference. Ultimately, we do all the setups through implementation project only. Reality.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, fine. Any other questions, please? Okay. Let's see how to create implementation project. Okay, what is the navigation to create implementation project? You have to click on the username, click on setup and maintenance task, then click on task list, click on manage implementation projects. From here, you can create implementation project. To create implementation project, click on create. Okay, click on create. Automatically is taking the name, code, description, and other details. So here you can give the name as MRF implementation project, some number and all it is taking, that remove that. And the same name it will take as a code and as a description. We not starting doing the projects, right? So that is reason by default the project status is not started. So from which user we are creating this implementation project? From MRF user. That is the reason system is assigning this project to MRF user only. If you want to change this assignment, you can change. If you want to assign to some other user, you can assign. I guess this user is available. Yeah. You can assign. Okay, you can assign to other user also. So by default, system is assigning the project to current user. Okay, current user. You can accept it. So when you are going to start doing the setups, okay, today. So by which date you are planning to finish the setups? Maybe by 10th. These are setups only, not entire implementation. Entire implementation means that depending on the project, client size and all, it may take 6 months or 8 months or 10 months. If you are doing the implementation for multiple countries, it may take years time. But this here implementation project means in the system, whatever you are creating, this is related setups. So I'm planning to complete those setups by 10th of this month. Okay, within just week time, I want to complete the setups. Possible. So this is how you can give. Again, finish date is not mandatory. Optionally, you can provide. It is not mandatory exactly how to provide by which date you are completing the tentative. Okay, the approximate date you can provide. Now you can click on next. If you click on next, it will display all the offerings and options which are enabled in this instance. Okay, the offerings and options which are enabled in this instance, those offerings and options it will display here. Now these all are offerings. Inside you can have options. These all are offerings. Why system is showing all these offerings here? These all are enabled. Financials already enabled, right? That is the reason it is coming here. If financials is not enabled, here you don't see financials. If you don't see financials here, you cannot include these financials into your implementation project. Okay. Now financials you can include into your implementation project. See here, include. We are including. Already we enabled. That is the reason here it is available. These financials we are going to include into our implementation project so that we can do these finance related setups. Now you can enable the checkbox called as include. Included. Now, from these financials, which applications you are going to implement, which options you are going to implement, you have to enable. Supplier invoice processing, nothing but payables we want to implement, include it. Expenses we are going to implement, include it. Fixed assets we want to implement, include it. Receivables we are going to implement, include it. Okay. So if you are going to implement collections, include it. Revenue management included, intercompany functional included, budgets included, and financial business intelligence analytics. If you want to do the analysis related to so application related data, include those also. Included. Here you can notice you don't see few primary finance applications. Which application?
Cash management and GL.
Cash management and GL. If somebody has some background noise, I request please take care of that. Okay, if you unmute again, that is kind of some noise. We don't see here general ledger application cash management. The reason, whenever you enable, okay, financials, system is selecting general ledger application. Whenever you enable payables or receivables application, we have seen system is selecting cash management application. Now, if you include financials, automatically you will get general ledger application. If you include payables or receivables, you will get cash management application, and you no need to enable those separately. Those are not available also here, but you will get. If you enable financial, you will get GL. If you enable payables or receivables, you will get cash management. So that's how you no need to enable those separately. Again, as a part of financials, there will be fusion tax also. You no need to enable anywhere, automatically will get it. Okay. So this is how you have to include. We included financials. Within that, what are the different options are available? Those also we included. Now say save and open project. Now it will create the project to implement financials. What are the setups we have to perform? All the setups, it will create the task list. It will generate the task list. Within the task list, you can find the tasks. Okay. Whenever you create the implementation project, by including offerings and options to implement those applications, it will create the task list. How you can see the task list within our project, we selected included financials, expand it. So these all we call as a task list. Each folder we call as a task list. This will contain list of setups. If you want to implement tables, okay, invoicing and payment configuration, okay, you have to do all these setups. All are whatever required, those will discuss and do it. Okay, these all are the payable related setups. All setups we have to do. So this is how system will create the task list as per the selected offerings and options into our project. Okay. So before we start with the setups, what else we have to understand, we'll discuss, then we'll start the setups, not directly. So, but this is the point you have to understand. So this can be assigned to resource and all. We'll discuss all those points for now. So this is what we have to understand. How to create the project, we discussed up to that. So from this project, what we have to learn and other points we'll discuss in the next session. So just we created project. Okay. So just we created project. What we have seen, how to create the implementation user, how to assign the roles, what roles we have to assign, application implementation consultant and IT security manager. And we have to enable the offerings and options. That is the second step. The third step is we have to create the implementation project. The same sequence we have to follow for reality also. When you get access to the instance from your client with some specific user, create your own user and assign those two roles and enable offerings and options and to create implementation project. After creating implementation project, what we have to do from system side, we will discuss all those in the next session. Okay, any questions from anyone, please? If you have any questions, you can stay back. We will discuss. If you don't have any questions, no further discussions, you may drop from the meeting. Okay. So since we have a classes from Monday to Friday, right? Monday to Friday, we'll connect on Monday. Okay. Meantime, try to complete this practice from your end so that you will be comfortable with upcoming system related activities. So create user and just go through how to enable the offerings and options, create implementation project. So that's how you can start working on the instance. In tomorrow's session, if you are going to do something when you are practicing, things will become easy in the next session. Okay. So whatever we are completing in the session, the same you try to complete from your end on the same day. That will help you a lot in all the ways of understanding. Could be some theoretical or system point of view. That will help you a lot. Complete on the same day, you can find big difference. So any questions from anyone, please?
Can you give us the instance details?
Yeah, definitely. You can keep in touch with the team. You will get the instance access.
Okay.
Any questions?
So, we have seen multiple projects, right? So which project the instance will take the values from which project?
All the projects. We will see that. See, by standing here, don't try to understand that. Okay. The project we are using to create the setups. The setups, whatever the setups you create accordingly, you will use the system. Once you get into those area, you will understand that. Okay. You can create multiple projects. You can do the different setups for one country or multiple country. System will help you to use all. How exactly, that we will understand in the classes.
Okay. Got it.
Fine. Any other questions, please?
So if we assign all this implementation project to single user, does this user will have a special control or any sort of thing?
No, just for information purpose only. Okay. Just while we are creating implementation project, system is assigned this project to this user. That means by default, to understand which user created this project, that we can understand. If you want to change, you can change. By changing this, nothing you are going to achieve, no control. Okay, this project is assigned to MRF. Anyone can work on this project who got access to this role. If you have access, say you created one user called as ABC. To ABC user, we assigned application implementation consultant. If you assign application implementation consultant to ABC user can get access to what? Can you answer? ABC user can get access to what because of application implementation consultant role?
FSM.
FSM. Where you have project, this project, FSM only, right? Within the FSM only you have this project. Even the project is created by MRF, project is assigned by MRF. Any user can work on any project who got access to FSM. See, now we created MRF project. There are many other projects. Being a MRF user, even that projects are not assigned to us, we can work on any project. Any project related setups you can do. That is just for information. Okay, that is just the project is assigned to which user just for information. No control with that. It is not like this project is assigned to so and so user, that user only can work on it. No. Who got access to FSM with the help of application implementation consultant role, all the users can work on any project. Yeah. Still, we'll discuss more points related to project. Just we created project. So how to assign the resource to the project, how to update the status. There are many other relevant points which you have to understand related to project. We'll discuss all those. So we created a user, we enabled offerings and options, and we just created implementation project. Any questions on this, please? Fine, no questions. That's all for today. See you on Monday. Thank you all.